Hello and welcome to Silverstone for rounds 11 and 12 of the Miller's Oils Toyota MR2 Championship. With just 5 races left this season, the action is really hotting up, as Matt Suckling found out.
Patrick, good to catch up with you once again. New circuit for everybody to play for here today at Silverstone. What do you reckon is going to happen?
Well, it is the first time that the guys have been out on the international circuit as a whole. Previously in the Birkett Relay race that the 750 Motor Club run once a year, we've done the full Grand Prix circuit. So they've seen most of this circuit before. There's a difference in a link section that brings it round where we'd normally go onto the national circuit. So a lot of people will have some experience of it, but not in its entirety.
You mentioned the Birkett there. It's always an end of season event for the 750 Motor Club. Is it something you get involved with regularly?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, since the MR2 Championship started, we've always fielded anywhere from 1 to 4 teams of 6 cars each in the Birkett Relay race, and generally we do pretty well. Normally on handicap race as well as a scratch race, and within our class we're normally right at the front of it. I understand amongst the guys that there are plans to enter, as many as 4 teams again this year.
Huge grid of MR2s as always. Comes close racing throughout this year. Do you reckon it's going to continue here today?
Yeah, without doubt, the racing is going to be very, very close here. The field is still fairly wide open. It could still be anybody's race. One good race, one bad race could make all the difference. So I think everybody's going to be cautiously competitive, but very, very close.
You're doing pretty well this year so far. You've had consistent points, which means you're leading the championship here at Silverstone.
Yeah, it's been pretty much a mathematical thing at the moment. The results have been probably the best season I've had in terms of points, but I've got an awful lot of reasonable points to drop. Obviously Matt's the main man at the moment, and I think I get to drop about 30 points, he gets to drop 2, so a 6-point lead doesn't kind of vaporises when you put that into context.
You got the new international wing to play with here this weekend. How do you reckon it's going to go for you?
Difficult to say. I mean, I drove it yesterday in a Mark 3 with a supercharger on for the first time, so less grip, more power. Hopefully that will help me for this qualifying session, but we all know how interviews just before a crucial race tend to slant things.
You do the racing, of course, but there's other things you do as well. A bit of stunt driving, I hear?
Yeah, I'm just back from Siberia, sort of doing some work for Nissan, trying to spin Dukes around and stuff, so that's quite a tricky task, in a bone dry car park with 225 section tyres, 18-inch wheels and an awful lot of ground clearance. Spinning one of those into a gap between 2 other brand new cars is a bit stressy, but everyone survived, we got away with it.
Well, let's hope you're not doing too much spinning today, and good luck, John.
Thank you very much.
Maxine, nice to have you in the championship. What made you come along and race with the boys?
Basically, I just wanted to give it a go after a few track days, and experience day at Bedford Autodrome did pretty well, so I thought I might as well just give it a go. Joining with Dad and Stu, my brother and my dad, so to see how I get on.
Nice family affair. What are you kind of hoping for from the day's racing?
Well, as it's wet at the moment, just to get round, really, basically. Do my 3 laps in quali so that I'd definitely get through back of the grid if it has to be. And then just get round and make it through the race, basically. Just first time experience.
You getting used to the car pretty quick?
Yeah, I really enjoyed the test day on Friday. I shaved off about 11 seconds from when I started to the end of the day. But obviously in the wet, I'm kind of very nervous.
Well, all the best for the day's action.
Thank you.
Well, it was a wet qualifying session and it's produced a very interesting looking grid. We'll have on the front row Robert Wells and Matthew Palmer. Luke Austin is on row 3 in his final ever MR2 race meeting. Next to him is occasional visitor Steve Lumley. Further back down the grid we see Mark Barber on the outside of the 4th row of the grid, and Ben Rowe, a winner at Brands Hatch of course, he lines up 10th. 3 drivers that have been regularly up at the top of the order, much further back on rows 7, 8 and 9, Jim Davis, John Wilson and Tim Heron. All set then for action in this first of 2 races today for the Miller's Oils Toyota MR2 Championship. 13 minutes plus 1 lap of action. Get underway now. And down towards Abbey they go for the first time then. Matt Palmer in the blue car with the green trim. On the outside of him is Michael Wells, who's made a great start from the outside of the second row of the grid. We're on board with Palmer now. Nobody in front of him at the moment, but there's Michael Wells. It's on the outside line for the left-handed or the right-handed hairpin at Village, I should say. And Palmer, I think, manages to stay ahead. Wells in second. It looks like Luke Austin up to third, up to second maybe, as they head down towards the link for the first time. Here's Shane Mansbridge. We're on board with him. He started 20th in the number 34 car, man from Norwich. Certainly one of his best performances to date in his first season of racing in the championship, but he's losing ground here as cars go past him on the way down the Hanger Straight, including that of Alex Knight. But it's Palmer that leads, and it's almost level pegging for second, but it looks like the 44 car of Luke Austin, the founder and captain of the Northampton Knights kart team, that's there in second place. Mark Barber, another local man from the Northamptonshire area, is there as well in car number 22. It's the blue and white Rogue Motorsport car. Here's Stuart Nichols, the view from back with him, and a bit of contact there. Steve Lumley is the next car in the order as well. Then it looks like Nigel Ralphson as well. There's the 7 car of Ben Rowe in the middle of that particular pack as the leaders come through to complete lap number 1 now. It's Palmer in the lead. Fantastic sight these cars make as they head down the international pit straight. There's Lumley and Ralphson and Mark Barber, and it's Ralphson there trying to make him a place on the inside of Steve Lumley, who's been a race winner in the past. What can John Wilson do? He qualified 15th, the championship leader, well down the order, and has an awful lot of work to do to try and protect his championship lead now. Matt Palmer's gaining fast in the championship. Board with Wilson now as he turns his way towards the link, over the bump there as they cross over the Grand Prix circuit. Back onto the Hanger Straight they go then, and it is Palmer leading, Wells now up to second, Austin in third place. Looks like it's Robert Wells, I think, in fourth place, the man who started on pole position. Then Stuart Nichols in fifth position, the 34-year-old from Ware in Hertfordshire, the television cameraman, turning their way through Stowe Corner now. Top 3 certainly getting away from the rest. This isn't good news for Stuart Nichols, who was hoping to stay with the leaders. Side by side for fourth position now. Further back we go on board with Shane Mansbridge as he heads down towards the Vale. Turning his way through the left-hander now. Then it's the double right at Club Corner. On to start another lap. The wing facility on his right as he heads down the international pit straight. Here's Ralphson right under the rear spoiler of Steve Lumley there. Steve, a regular race winner in the past. They're all now queuing up behind behind Stuart Nichols I should say, who's got ahead of Wells there. Ralphson is next up in 6th position, Lumley 7th. It's Matthew Wallace in 8th. He's also made up some ground from the start. He started 11th. We go on board now with Stuart Nichols, who's starting to put some daylight between himself and that pack already. But that's just how much he's got to make up. It's a long view down the Hanger Straight before he can see another car. Number 24 in trouble, and that's Martin Farrelly. His car has come to a stop there. Quite how, I don't know. Does he need some assistance on the marshals? I think he may well. Stuart Nichols, you can see, already putting some ground between himself and the rest. He's out there in the first of the Mark III Roadsters this weekend. On board with Mick Nichols now, car number 89, he's a bit further back down the order. Ooh, and there might have been some contact there from one of the other Roadsters as he made his way through. 24 Martin Farrelly then is being pushed out of the way. Here's a replay. Oh yes, there certainly was contact there, and it was Jim Davis then that just was nudged into the number 89 car of Mick Nichols. So a couple of the Roadsters having a coming together there. And there's the third of the Nichols clan, that's Maxine in her first ever race, car number 17, joining her brother Stuart and dad Mick on the track this weekend. Well, Austin and Wells are having a ding-dong fight. It's Austin now that's back ahead. Up into second position he has gone. He's been racing in the MR2s for a few seasons now, but has decided to take some time out and to focus on the karting team. Here's Wells locking up as he goes down the inside into the Vale. Has he made it work? He has, but he can't cling on. Had to really step on the anchors there, I think, as they made their way towards Club Corner, and Luke Austin immediately pounced once more, and that's given Luke Austin now the luxury of a few car lengths, and it's dropped the third place man Wells now back into the clutches of the flying Stuart Nichols. He's on an absolute charge to get back towards the front here, Stuart. He'd just done corporate karting up until 2010. He got his Go Racing pack for his 30th birthday and he's not looked back since then. He's there in the Ware Heating and Bathroom sponsored car, which goes through on the inside at Village. It takes third place away. The first of the roadsters now up to third position overall. Michael Wells, who's had some strong finishes in recent times, 4 successive podium finishes. He's gone back down to 4th position. So Nichols now right with Austin. Meanwhile, Mark Barber has wriggled his way through into 5th position. Matthew Wallace there in 6th, just ahead of Steve Lumley in the number 60 car, I should say, in 7th position. But Mark Barber has had a pretty good run. He started 8th, got embroiled in that battle, but has now emerged from it and is running 5th. Meanwhile, how's John Wilson getting on? He's progressed up towards the top 10. There he is in 8th position now, behind Steve Lumley. So he's made up already 7 places during the course of this race, as he desperately tries to cling on to his championship lead. I think when I spoke to him yesterday, as Stuart Nichols goes through on the inside at Village, that's his favoured overtaking spot clearly. Luke Austin goes down to 3rd position there. Stu Nichols up to 2nd then, as he makes his way down the hanger straight, and now he's just got Matt Palmer in his sights somewhere down there. He's a long way clear, is Palmer now. Turns his way through Stowe Corner. I was just saying about John Wilson, when I spoke to him yesterday, he wasn't convinced that he'd be able to hold on to his championship lead this weekend. I think he was somewhat resigned to losing it to Matthew Palmer, who's doing everything he can. Oh, and a moment for number 33, which is Alex Knight. He won the first round of the championship at Brands Hatch, the Scottish driver who commutes for each of the races. Enjoys his racing in the MR2 championship. Board with Mansbridge again. He's running well up inside of the top 20 this weekend. I'm sure he'll be very pleased with how it's going. He's got Mick Nichols just a little bit further up ahead of him. Turns his way through Club Corner onto the International pit straight once more. You can see a couple of cars further up fanning out, going 3 abreast into the right-hander at Abbey, and that's Tim Heron that's making up some ground alongside the car of Rob Wells, I think that was. Mansbridge there you can see in the background in his red and yellow car. We've also got involved in this the number 73 car, which is Simon Wallace as well. Mansbridge trying to make up some ground on Mick Nichols there at Village, and I think he might have done it. So good effort that from the 31-year-old who lives in Norwich, who's the administrator for an online retail company. He's also a registered clerk of the course for motocross as well. More with Nichols, watching that car disappearing down the hanger straight then. And towards Stowe Corner. Oh, and a spin! That's the number 29 car of Martin Farrelly, who was somewhat in the... Martin Farhi, I should say. He was somewhat in the wars yesterday, the 44-year-old from Birmingham. Took part in a road sports race yesterday, but it didn't last very long before there was damage sustained to the car. Matt Palmer on to the final lap then. He's starting to feel the pressure now from Stuart Nichols, who's been closing in on him over the last few laps. Down towards the Village they go. Here's the view from Stuart Nichols. Well, you can see that Matt Palmer's car no longer a speck in the distance. He's pushing really, really hard to try and get back onto terms with Palmer. He's only got half a lap left to do it now though. Onto the hanger straight for the final time. A couple of overtaking opportunities left down at Stowe, but it won't be close enough there. Will it be close enough by the time they get to the Vale and Club? Meanwhile, in the background, you can see Mark Barber there is trying to make up a position on Luke Austin. and go third. He'd already made his way ahead of Michael Wells, and now I think Barber may well have made it up to third position. Meanwhile, Stuart Nichols is still closing in on Matt Palmer. Down towards the Vale for the final time then. It's an 11-lap race. I still don't think Stuart Nichols quite going to be close enough. Only about 2 car lengths in it. Barber's still not yet ahead of Luke Austin, side by side, down into the left-hander at the Vale, and he goes through. Can he hold on to it over the line as we go back on board with Stuart Nichols as they take the checkered flag, and Palmer holds on by only a quarter of a second. Thumbs up from Stuart Nichols. And over the line they come for third, fourth and fifth in very quick succession. It's Mark Barber that got it in the end from Luke Austin and Michael Wells. Over the line in 6th place goes Matthew Wallace ahead of John Wilson, who battled ahead of Steve Lumley towards the end of that race. So Matt Palmer takes his 6th victory of the season in the Miller's Oil Toyota MR2 Championship. Let's get full confirmation of those results now, and it's Matthew Palmer that took the win from Stuart Nichols, with Mark Barber 3rd and Luke Austin in 4th position. Michael Wells and Matthew Wallace completed the top 6. John Wilson made up 8 places to go 7th ahead of Steve Lumley. Jim Davis and the ex-Fiat racer Nigel Ralphson in 10th position.
Mark Barber, well done on your 3rd place there. A cracking drive from the field.
Yeah, that was just amazing. It was, wasn't expecting that from 9th place on the grid, but the car was amazing after working on it on Friday, so yeah, it was great.
You always find someone to fight with in this field, and everyone kept it clean.
Indeed, yeah. I was surprised how clean the overtakes were. Sorry, that sounds bad towards the championship, but yeah, the guys at the front, I've been racing mid-pack all season, and to race the guys at the front was just, they were professional, so it was great, yeah.
You're looking for a second podium in the second race?
Well, starting from 2 more places back, so it's going to be more of a challenge, but we'll see what we can do.
All the best.
Thank you, cheers.
Stuart Nichols, another great drive from yourself as well there. You kind of picked everyone off, and it was just one more place you needed there.
Yeah, it felt, I got stuck in the melee at one point, and I thought it felt like I was quicker. If I could make the break, I could start to work on the kind of first 3. And at one point I'd settled for 3rd place. I thought that'll do me, first in class, and then a second place opportunity presented itself, and I was just trying to chase Matt. But you could say a couple more laps and I'd have probably got close to him. I don't think I'd have been able to pass him though.
You got a very nice circuit to play with today, the international circuit. How's it been for you?
Well, I've been here since Friday. I did some testing on Friday, which I think's definitely helped me today. I actually love this track, if I'm being honest. I wasn't sure about it on paper, but I got to say, I really, really enjoy it out here.
It's been very well for you in race number 1. Good luck for race 2.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Matt Palmer, well done on the race victory in the MR2s there. And with one make racing, you very rarely get a break like that.
No, I was surprised I managed to get such a big gap to begin with, because this is the first time I've ever driven on this circuit before. Apart from qualifying this morning, but that was completely different conditions. So I was focused on getting a good start, and then sort of luckily managed to get a big gap whilst the other was wobbling, and then took it a bit easy towards the end.
Were you aware of the closing, Stuart Nichols?
I was keeping a close eye on my rearview mirror. He got a bit close for comfort on the last lap, but I knew it was the last lap then, so I just had to concentrate on keeping him behind me then.
More wins brings more championship points. Looking good for this year.
Yeah, it's looking really promising. I just have to keep consistent in the last few races, and hopefully I'll be able to win.
Well done, Matt.
Thanks a lot.
New
Second fastest qualifying times determining the grid for race 2. Robert Wells and Matthew Palmer on row 1. Michael Wells and Stuart Nichols on row 2. Steve Lumley and Luke Austin on the 3rd row of the grid. On board with Matt Palmer then as the red lights are on. They go out. And away he goes. Oh, but he's struggling to find a gear there. His hand coming off the gear stick, in fact, as he really struggled to get that car in, and look how many places he's lost. I think that's 4 places at least he's lost. In actual fact, he's probably done well not to be any further down the order. It's Stuart Nichols then that's got into the lead of the race from the outside of the front row. Looks like Steve Lumley up to 2nd place. Palmer trying to get back to 3rd around the outside of Luke Austin as they head down through Village for the first time. Oh, and they're coming together there. That's 85 Nigel Ralphson certainly involved. Down towards the link then, and onto the Hanger Straight for the first time. This is the view from on board with John Welton, who was 1 place further up the grid this time. He went from 15th to 7th in race 1. He started on the outside of row 7 this time. Look at this, 4 cars wide down the Hanger Straight, and that's Mark Barber making up ground in the white and blue car you can see in the background. He's gone ahead of Mick Nichols. He'd got a lot of work to do. Of course, he finished 3rd in the earlier race, his first ever podium, but starting a bit further back on the grid this time, on 11th, board with Palmer. Down towards the Vale, it's Luke Austin ahead of us. This will be his last ever MR2 Championship race, so he says. Let's hope that he can go out on a high in the number 44 car. The driver from Northampton. Already though, look, Stuart Nichols at the front of the field is starting to get away a little bit. And with the pace that he set in race 1, he set the fastest lap on a 1 minute 22.16. That's a little bit ominous for the rest of the field. It's all been caused by Palmer, the Reading driver, just completed his university degree, who made that, well, not made that mistake, but really struggled to get the car in gear there, off the line. Is that a problem that's going to dog him throughout the race, I wonder? So they're in 4th position at the moment, trying to find a way past Austin. Down towards the link, looking to the outside there. There is a bit of a gap between Palmer and Michael Wells now, who's in 5th position. This is the view from on board John Wilson there. And this is the view from back from Mick Nichols. You can see Wilson behind us. They both got ahead of Ben Rowe there, which possibly suggests that Ben Rowe, the number 7 car, winner of round 2 of the championship at Brands Hatch, lacking a bit of straight line speed. There's Wells and Barber together now. So Barber again seems to have made up a little bit of ground, and he's there in 5th position, ahead of Wells. There's Mick Nichols there, that is in the background, trying to make a dive up the inside of John Wilson. Contact was almost inevitable there. It was indeed made. Wilson loses not 1 but 2 places. It might even be 3 as Ben Rowe tries to get 1 back. Jim Davies is queuing up as well. John Wilson attacked there down at the Vale. Back on board with him now. All of a sudden he's got 3 places to try and make back up again. It's Matthew Wallace that probably profited most from all of that. Steve Lumley in 2nd, Luke Austin in 3rd, takes a very wide line down at Village Corner that time. Not sure if that was quite intentional. He has lost ground to the car in front, at least a couple of car lengths. Matt Palmer still right with him though. Interestingly, Palmer unable to take advantage of that. Down the straight he goes, up through the gears. I wonder if he was having more problems with the gearbox, possibly the clutch. Jim Davies in that red Roadster, right in the middle of shot there, making his way down towards Stowe Corner. Drivers behind him trying to use the slipstream to get through, and it's Ben Rowe, of course, number 7, the driver that comes up from Holsworthy in Devon. It's always a long commute for him, whichever circuit we're competing at. But for the moment, Davies is able to hold on. Davies, of course, had a win at Rockingham last time out before a non-finish in the 2nd race, so he'll be disappointed to be a bit further down the order this weekend, especially as the track does seem to be suited to the Roadsters, certainly in the hands of Stuart Nichols as Palmer. Oh, moment there for him. It was all gathered in very quickly now. Very fast reflexes from Matt Palmer. He's dicing here with Austin, who's 4th, Barber, who's 5th and has closed in on the pair. and Michael Wells there in 6th position as well. The 32-year-old from Yeovil, the Royal Navy helicopter pilot, the driver of the green car at the back of shot, as Mark Barber thought about having a look at Luke Austin on the way out of the corner. Down towards the Vale then, and look how these cars are queuing up behind Simon Wallace. That is the 23 car of Tim Herron, who didn't qualify well, the former speed event sprint and hill climb driver, the Warwick-based software developer. Mansbridge heads on to the start and finish straight, the International Pitch Straight as it's called once more. He was well and truly in the thick of the battle, making his way now through the left-hander at Farm in the next corner. It's one of the hardest braking areas of the lap. It's the right-hander. Oh, in a moment! And I'm afraid that's the number 29 car again of Martin Fahey. It's the car that formerly belonged to Paul Hinson, who won the MR2 Championship last year. We're looking once more at this battle. Shane Mansbridge having a bit of a moment down at finish. That's going to give the 73 car of Simon Wallace the run on him. Also number 85, Nigel Ralphson. So Shane Mansbridge loses a few positions there. Quite a few positions. He's lost about 4 or 5 because of that. And that's the problem in MR2 Championship racing. It's so close. If you make one mistake, all of a sudden you can find yourself a lot further back down the field. It's the hallmark of very competitive racing though, and the MR2 Championship is exactly that. Down towards the Vale they come then. Now Simon Wallace ahead, Nigel Ralphson on the outside, Tim Herron on the inside of him. Almost Simon Wallace having to stop there, and I think Shane Mansbridge did. That's allowed the number 8 car to go through of Nottingham driver Clive Morford. And more ground has been lost by Shane Mansbridge, who's now just ahead of the number 21 car of Phil Hutchins from York. This is the view from Maxine Nichols as she has a moment at the Vale. Oh, and I'm afraid she's off into the gravel. Now she's going to get the car out of there. Ah, yes, she's gone through the gravel back onto the AstroTurf type surface there, so easily enough able to rejoin, but she's lost a bit more ground to the rest of the field. But don't forget, this is only her second ever race. Well, brother Stuart has had an awful lot more races, and he's going very nicely indeed in this one. Look how he's eased out such a gap over the 2 cars that are side by side for 2nd and 3rd positions down at Village. Matt Palmer absolutely throwing his car around as he tries to get past Steve Lumley. Oh, and they go down towards the link now, and Palmer is going through on the inside, is he? I think he's done it. Yes, he has. Matt Palmer up to 2nd position. The man who came into this weekend trailing John Wilson by 6 points before drop scores were taken into account. And drop scores were going to work in Matt Palmer's favour at the moment, at least, because he had a disastrous weekend at Brands Hatch at the beginning of the season. He's gone up to 2nd now, is watching a 5-car battle for 2nd place effectively. Lumley and Austin and Barber and Wells also involved. John Wilson down towards the Vale, and he makes up a position there on Jim Davis, but Jim Davis fights back on the exit through the 2nd part of Club Corner. They are about to go. There's just a little bit of a touch between them there. Oh, sorry, says John Wilson. Oh, and now he misses a gear, and that's allowed Jim Davis to reassert his position. The 2 of them are down in, I think, about 7th and 8th positions at the moment. John Wilson now losing out to number 89, Mick Nichols as well. Yes, that's 8th place now for Mick Nichols. The Hennessy Motorsport prepared car of John Wilson there turns its way through Village, now through the left-hander and down towards the link. Wilson, also a stunt driver in his spare time. He's also an IT bloke by occupation. Looking back now from Mick Nichols' car as John Wilson went from left to right and found himself on the grass as he was trying to find a gap to get ahead of Mick Nichols, and he's lost quite a bit of time as a result of all of that. I'm sure that was an intentional stunt from John Wilson, as we watch Steve Lumley trying to defend his position now from Michael Wells. Final lap of the race, and Stuart Nichols has a huge lead by the Miller's Oils Toyota MR2 Championship standards. Matt Palmer it is that has made it up to 2nd place, and Luke Austin to 3rd. as they head down towards Stowe for the final time. Steve Lumley still in 4th, but that's under threat from Michael Wells. Matthew Wallace there in 6th position. He's emerged well clear of the battle that he was involved in earlier on. Meanwhile, out of Club Corner goes Stuart Nichols as the battle further back arrives at Vellens. Stuart Nichols takes the win in round 12 of the Miller's Oils Toyota MR2 Championship. Further back, are we going to get a change for 5th place? No, I don't think we are, so it's going to be Palmer 2nd. 3rd place to Luke Austin, a podium on his final race in the championship, and 5th and 6th almost side by side over the line. And it's just Michael Wells that gets the edge over Matthew Wallace in the end. The gap back to Jim Davis in 7th, Mick Nichols in 8th, and John Wilson eventually 9th position. Battle to be settled further back. Clive Morfitt is there, Mark Warren Leighton in the number 16 car, Dan Holmes in 92. Board with Shane Mansbridge now as he... he's got 2 cars that have spun ahead of him as they arrived at the Vale for the very final time in this race. 24 car Martin Farrelly, 22 is Mark Barber, who was on the podium in race 1. It's going to be a long way down the order and well outside of the top 10 in this one. Results time then, the win for Stuart Nichols. The gap, 8.5 seconds over Matthew Palmer. Luke Austin will be delighted to go out on a high, 3rd place for him. Steve Lumley, Michael Wells and Matthew Wallace completed the top 6. The S World Championship leader, John Wilson, was back in 9th position.
Luke, 3rd place for you there. A great drive to get onto the podium and many people to battle with.
Yeah, it was great fun. I don't think I've had a more fun race. There's probably only been one race which is about the same closeness in battle at the front, but I really enjoyed it. It's a great way to end my MR2 career.
Yeah, you say that. It's always nice to see many more people coming out, but for some reason you're going to leave us. But it hasn't been a hard journey. It's been up and down, but you've had great support along the way.
Yeah, I've had the ups and downs. Obviously, I've had my dad there the whole way through to help me along, which has been fantastic. But yeah, it's been great fun. I really enjoyed it. It's unfortunate it's got to end.
Well done, Luke, on 3rd place, and good luck for the future.
Thank you very much.
Matt, 2nd place this time round after the 1st in race number 1, but once again consistent and more points.
Yeah, it's good to get a 2nd place and 1st overall in class again, but as I was telling the boys there that I had some really major clutch issues, and I made a good start, and then when I went to get to 2nd I just had nothing, and it was like that for the rest of the race, so I just had to be really careful with the gear changes and try not to mash it up too much.
And when Stuart builds up a gap like that, it's always hard to close down no matter what the problem.
Yeah, once Stu got that gap in front, I just had to concentrate on getting back through up into 2nd or 3rd, what the best I could do. So the overtake was really good fun, and it was nice to be involved in a good race.
Another good weekend, well done, Matt.
Thanks a lot.
Stuart picking up the victory in the 2nd MR2 race. You went one better than in race number 1, and it was a pretty nice margin as well at the flag.
By the end, genuinely, I was looking down the Hanger Straight and I was waiting for everyone to catch up. Although I did see my sister, and I thought I'll try and catch her for a really nice photo finish.
But for you, it's always progress, it's always good results, and it's still the season to go. You can improve on this time and time again.
Yeah, I've picked my season back up. I had a really kind of couple of dodgy rounds at Donington and Rockingham after fantastic rounds at like Brands and Snet. So I feel maybe I've got the momentum behind me again, and if I can carry on through the end, it could make it really interesting in the championship.
It certainly could. Well done on 2 great results.
Cheers, thanks very much.
Let's have a look at the championship points table then, and it's Matthew Palmer that now goes 7 points clear of John Wilson, but he's got to be wary that he cannot afford any more non-finishes. Tim Heron has been consistent. He's still there in 3rd ahead of Stuart Nichols, who led the championship at one point earlier in the season. Jim Davis, Mike Wells, they complete the top 6. That's all we've got time for at Silverstone. Join us again soon.